The distress signal shouldn't have reached anyone. It was weak, fractured, bleeding across frequencies that most species had abandoned centuries ago. But Jonas Reed wasn't most species. He sat in the cockpit of the Wanderer's hymn, his fingers dancing across holographic controls as he guided his ship through the Kepler drift, a region of space so dense with electromagnetic interference that even the Galactic Coalition's military vessels avoided it. Jonas didn't avoid things. That was why he'd been dishonorably discharged 3 years ago. The signal pulsed again, and this time he caught fragments of a voice. Not words exactly, but something deeper. Desperation shaped into sound. His translator struggled with the dialect, spitting out nonsense syllables before finally landing on something coherent. Please. Anyone. I don't want to die alone. Jonas's jaw tightened. He'd heard plenty of distress calls in his time. Most were traps, pirates luring good Samaritans into ambushes, but something about this one felt different. Genuine. Terrified. Computer, triangulate source, he muttered. The navigation system whirred, then displayed coordinates that made Jonas's stomach drop. The signal originated from deep within the Orpheus Nebula, a graveyard of dead ships and dying stars. Nothing survived in there for long. Radiation levels alone would cook most organic life within hours. He should have turned around. The protocol demanded it. Common sense screamed it. Jonas adjusted his course toward the nebula. 6 hours later, the Wanderer's hymn pierced the outer edge of the Orpheus Nebula, and Jonas felt the ship shudder as radiation battered the shields. Warning klaxons blared, but he silenced them with a wave. He'd reinforced the shielding himself after leaving the Coalition, one of many modifications that made his ship technically illegal in 14 systems. The signal grew stronger, more desperate. Now he could hear her clearly, a young voice trembling with fear and exhaustion. She was speaking in Old Valerian, a language Jonas had learned during his deployment in the outer reaches. Most humans couldn't be bothered with alien linguistics, but Jonas had always believed that understanding someone's words meant understanding their soul. My pod is failing, the voice whispered through the static. Life support at 11%. I've been drifting for 17 cycles. My people, they left me behind. They didn't think I was worth the fuel to retrieve. Jonas's hands clenched around the controls. What kind of species abandoned their own? Hang on, he said aloud, even though she couldn't hear him yet. I'm coming. He pushed the Wanderer's hymn deeper into the nebula, navigating by instinct through fields of debris and pockets of superheated plasma. His sensors screamed warnings about hull integrity, but Jonas ignored them. He'd survived worse, finally. His scanners locked onto a small object tumbling through the void, an escape pod barely intact, its emergency beacon flickering like a dying heartbeat. Jonas maneuvered alongside it and extended the docking clamp. The pod was ancient, its hull scored by micrometeorite impacts and radiation burns. He activated the airlock sequence, and for a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a groan of protesting metal, the pod's hatch unsealed. What stumbled through the airlock wasn't what Jonas expected. She was small, barely reaching his chest, with luminescent skin that shifted between pale violet and soft blue. Her large eyes, the color of deep space, were wide with shock and fear. Delicate antennae sprouted from her temples, twitching nervously as she took in her surroundings. She wore tattered remnants of what might have once been a uniform, and she was shaking. You came, she whispered in Valerian, her voice breaking. You actually came. Jonas knelt to her level, keeping his movements slow and non-threatening. My name is Jonas Reed. You're safe now. The alien girl, Alira, her pod's identification transponder had read, stared at him with something between disbelief and wonder. Human, she breathed, as if the word itself was sacred. They said humans were reckless, that they threw themselves into danger without thinking. They're not wrong, Jonas admitted with a half-smile. Alira's legs gave out, and Jonas caught her before she hit the deck. She was lighter than he expected, her body trembling with exhaustion and malnutrition. He carried her to the medbay, where the automated systems immediately began analyzing her biology. Severe dehydration, radiation exposure, muscle atrophy, the computer reported. Recommend immediate intervention. Jonas worked quickly, setting up intravenous fluids compatible with Valerian physiology. Thank the stars he'd kept his medbay stocked for multi-species emergencies. As the fluids flowed into her system, Elira's eyes fluttered open again. "Why?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "Why did you risk your life for me? You don't know me. My own people didn't think I was worth saving." Jonas met her gaze, and in that moment, he saw something he recognized. The look of someone who'd been thrown away, deemed expendable by those who should have protected them. "Because nobody deserves to die alone in the dark," he said simply. "And because humans have this annoying habit of caring, even when it's inconvenient." Elira's eyes filled with tears, bioluminescent droplets that glowed softly as they traced down her cheeks. "I was told humans were dangerous, unpredictable." "We are," Jonas said. "But we're also stubborn. And when we hear someone calling for help, we answer, even if it's stupid, even if it costs us everything." The alien girl reached out with a trembling hand and touched his face, her expression full of wonder. "Your species is insane." Jonas laughed, a genuine sound that echoed through the medbay. "Yeah, we get that a lot." As the Wanderer's hymn turned away from the Orpheus Nebula, carrying Elira towards safety, Jonas couldn't help but think about what made humans different. Other species calculated risk versus reward. They measured value in resources and strategic advantage. But humans? Humans measured value in heartbeats, in the sound of a voice calling out from the darkness, in the stubborn, irrational belief that every life mattered, even when the math said otherwise. Elira had been thrown away by her people. The galaxy had written her off as an acceptable loss. But Jonas Reed had heard her call and he'd answered, because that's what humans did, even when no one else would.